The U.S. is withdrawing hundreds of troops and shutting down some of its bases in northeast Syria. The withdrawal will leave around 1,000 troops, roughly half the number there now, to work with Kurdish allies in preventing a resurgence of the so-called Islamic State militant group. U.S. President Donald Trump attempted during his first term to withdraw all U.S. forces from Syria, but met with opposition from the Pentagon, which saw it as abandoning allies. And I'm joined now by Caroline Rose, director at the New Lines Institute think tank, where she works on defense, crime, and security in the Middle East. Caroline, thank you for joining us. The U.S. just confirmed that it will withdraw troops from Syria. What signal does that send to Syria, to the Kurds, and to the whole region?
Certainly. I think that this is a decision that has been anticipated for some time, particularly after Trump's successful re-election. Ultimately, and if we remember back to his first administration, Trump tried to withdraw troops from northeast Syria and also authorized a partial withdrawal of Operation Inherent Resolve forces in Iraq throughout the spring and the summer of 2020. So this is something that is very much in line with how he sees the U.S. posture in the Middle East. And when it comes to signaling to its partners, such as the Syrian Democratic Forces, as well as to its adversaries and other actors in Syria and in the Middle East, this really shows that this administration could potentially push this further and conduct a full-scale withdrawal process.
And the Kurds in Syria have long feared that if the U.S. pulls out entirely, that Turkey will come in and attack them. Is this partial withdrawal going to leave that kind of vacuum that Turkey will want to fill?
I think most certainly Turkey sees this as an opportunity. They've already tried to further their footprint in Syria. For example, they're trying to consolidate and establish a base at the T4 base in Syria, and of course, push further in and increase their allocation of forces in Syria. They've also offered to take up this counter-ISIS mission instead of the United States. This is something that the United States has entertained, but of course has not fully accepted. And for the Syrian Democratic Forces, this does represent a pretty severe vulnerability, given the fact that Turkey has authorized numerous aerial and ground offensives into northeast Syria. However, this time it's somewhat different, given the fact that the SDF has made a deal with Damascus, with the new interim government under Ahmed al-Shara. And this new agreement is agreeing to essentially absorb and completely integrate the SDF into the new Syrian army. So that, of course, is a potential hedge against a Turkish offensive. But of course, nothing is certain, and it's always possible that Turkey could perceive this as an opportunity.
So potential for some protection under the new Syrian government for the Kurds. Most of the U.S. troops in Syria are there, though, to help defeat the so-called Islamic State. The Kurds, with U.S. backing, are holding tens of thousands of people linked to the Islamic State. What does it mean for the mission of keeping the Islamic State in check?
Certainly. Well, I think it's important to remember and look beyond the numbers here, because, of course, we're seeing this reduction from 2,000 American personnel to around 1,000 or so American personnel stationed in Syria. We've seen this number lower before. In fact, in 2024, it was around 900 or so forces, not including contractors. So in terms of the effectiveness of the mission, I think it's possible that we'll still see continued advances made against ISIS insurgents in Syria's desert region and in the northeast. The problem here, of course, is that if the United States continues to advance this withdrawal announcement, that's where we could see a power vacuum emerge. That's where we could see SDF distraction and the incapacity to continue these sustained gains against Islamic State insurgents. That's where we could see potential jailbreaks from key detention centers where we've seen attempted outbreaks before. and of course, increased attacks on checkpoints and local communities. And that is certainly a reality that could be that could take place as the United States continues to contemplate further withdrawal. Even in the reality of an incremental withdrawal process, I think that we could see some detrimental effects to the counter-ISIS campaign in northeast Syria.
Caroline Rose from the New Lines Institute in Washington, D.C., thank you so much for your analysis.
Thank you so much.